All right, I had to answer a phone call. So, a primary direction of Saturn to the ascendant had an orb of 0.3 degrees. According to the quantic ruler, this falls in the orange zone. Medium intensity, not life-threatening, but lasting 1.5 years. The client indeed experienced a slow, grinding series of authority conflicts over 18 months. Not a single dramatic event. Traditional linear orbs would have missed the duration, right? The quantic orb is now the faculty standard for all timing work. The old 1 degrees equals 1 year rule is discarded as a crude approximation. We have our synthesis, the unified timing grammar, the 11 timers, including prior methods. Faculty now recognizes 11 independent timing methods, each with a specific domain we talked about. So, primary direction, spiral, major life crises, years to decades, secondary progressions, emotional psychological shifts, months to years. Solar arcs, external events, career relocation 1 to 5 years. Lunar arc, sudden sharp events, days to months. Helical drift, generational cohort events, 30 to 70 years. Echo key, repetitions of past events, 1 through 10 years. Shadow arc, karmic debt collection, 3 through 30 years. Fractal clock, self-similar repeating patterns. Resonance cascades, fated, multi-determined events, exact day. Null point is free will zones, lifetime. Tachyon progression, seeding the future, 10 through 40 years forward. Astral tide is short-term, weekly, moods, days. Quantic orb is intensity, duration of any aspect, and it varies. So, now you have 13 ways to measure the movement of fate, but we have to remember the clock is not the time. These techniques are lenses, not laws. The cosmos does not calculate it pulses. What we call timing is merely our nervous system's translation of that pulse into seconds and years. All right? Now, we have a glossary dedicated to more verbiage. So no one's getting confused. And I'm pretty sure I haven't talked about this in full. But I'm going from A through about Z here. And you may see these things. It says AST. And that's because I have lectures that I did not go over yet with you guys. Of the original concepts. So that's what we were going to do, was go over these lectures. 601 through 603 here. And now each course is broken into individual lectures with original concepts, techniques, philosophical foundations, and practical wizardry. With no mathematical symbols to keep it simple, only geometric, alchemical, and phenomenological rigor. And this is the time trivium, but I'm pretty sure I don't think I've done it either. All right, so the trivium of time is 601 through 603. These lectures are in depth and detailed, expanding on my original concept, technique, philosophy, and we go all the way until 903. All right, so that's quite a bit of lectures that I have with you guys there. So we would go over primary directions as spiral harmonics. Technically, I'd have 12 lectures, 3 modules of 4. But we talk about why primary directions cannot be a simple 1 degrees per year circle. Evidence from historical charts. Directions often mature early or late depending on prenatal lunar phase. Introduction of the spiral harmonic model. The ecliptic is not a flat circle but a logarithmic spiral projected onto the celestial sphere. Each degree of arc is not equal. Arcs compress near the solstice points. Right? And then we go further. Right? But I want to actually make this video funner. I know that's not a word technically, but we're using it. So I wanted to go over 5 fatalistic event charts that I didn't go over on the channel yet. So hang on a second. These reports demonstrate events that were astrologically inevitable where no free will could alter the outcome. So our first report is on the death of King Ludwig II of Bavaria. And we're also going to talk about a few other things. Like I said, this is 5 reports. The second report is the Hindenburg disaster, collective fatalism, the Hindenburg airship fire. Now, this one is made up here, but it's astrologically rigorous. It's fictional, but astrologically rigorous on the death of Roger Usher and the collapse of the mansion Edgar Allan Poe, literary fatalism. We're also going to talk about the Titanic sinking, avoidable versus inevitable, RMS Titanic sinking. And then we are going to talk about the Pompeii eruption. So stay tuned. Collective karmic fatalism, eruption of Mount Vesuvius. All right. What's up, everybody? Continuing where we left off here. And we're going to talk about these event charts, and they're specifically fatalistic. And you'll see what we're trying to get at here. So, our first report is the Ludwig decline, irreversible primary direction cascade. And our event is the death of King Ludwig II of Bavaria, June 13th, 1886. Drowning under suspicious circumstances. The classification level is fated death. And so we have our abstract here. King Ludwig II's death has long been debated. Suicide, accident, or murder. This report demonstrates that regardless of intent, his chart contained a fatalistic cascade, 3 independent timing systems converging on the same 15-minute window with no escape route. The event was astrologically inevitable. And I'll show you guys how we dissect event charts, all right? This is just one of the techniques, rectification. We have our SCD, subject chart data. And we see our birth is August 25th, 1845, 0030 CET, Munich, rectified by faculty using witness star method, Regulus on the midheaven. And we have our natal signature, Sun in Virgo at 1 degrees, expansion factor, Moon in Aries at 29 degrees, anaretic compression, threshold guardian, Pluto in Aries conjunct the Moon. And now we have our fatalistic signatures to be identified. Primary direction, spiral harmonic. So Mars, natal 18 degrees Gemini, directed to the 8th house cusp, 24 degrees Gemini. Our arc is 6 degrees 12. Using spiral compression, prenatal lunar phase equals waxing gibbous, tightness coefficient 0.78. Expected maturity equals 4.8 years after birth. The actual age at death is 40 years, 9 months, 19 days. Direction orb at time of death 0.03 degrees, well within fatal threshold. All right. So now we look at our solar arc. And what do we see? Solar arc Pluto, or we'll just say SA for solar arc. And Pluto is the ruler of death, transformation, and it's conjunct the natal moon, 29 degrees Aries, anaretic. So Pluto's solar arc is 40 degrees 45, natal moon is at 29 degrees Aries. Conjunction orbit death is 0.01 degrees, essentially exact. Because moon is anaretic, 29 degrees, the event was compressed. Expected age 41.2 years, actual 40.8 within 5 months. Excuse me. That's what soda does to me and a lot of us. Fractal echo 2x. So age 20.4 years, October 1865, primary direction of Saturn to the descendant. His father died and Ludwig ascended to the throne. We have our fractal clock. 20.4 multiplied by 2 equals 40.8 years. Death occurred at age 40.8, exact fractal echo. The echo event was death, not inheritance. We have a polarity flip from inheritance of throne to the loss of throne and life. And we have our tesseract of fatality. So primary direction Mars to the 8th house is malefic. And solar arc Pluto to anaretic moon. Outer planet to angle. Moon is co-angle. Lunar arc Ketu to natal Saturn is karmic death, as well as a progressed moon in the 12th house of hidden enemies and institutions exact on the death day. And all 4 triggers align within 0.5 degrees, so our fatal lock is confirmed. No ritual could have prevented this. The fractal echo had been set at age 20. The anaretic moon made the solar arc inescapable. The progressed moon in the 12th house indicates that even if Ludwig had not gone to Lake Starnberg, the death would have found him elsewhere, possibly in his own bedroom, by the same conspirators. The 0.01 degrees orb leaves no room for free will. The body was found in shallow water. Astrological fatalism does not specify means only that death occurs. The chart does not distinguish between drowning, poison, or a blow to the head. Faculty accepts this as a limitation of the method. So our fatalism level is 9.7 out of 10, virtually certain. The only non-fated element was the precise manner of death. And now we have 4 more to go over. So let's talk about the Hindenburg disaster, collective fatalism. So our event is the Hindenburg airship fire, which occurred May 6th, 1937 at 1925 local time in Lakehurst, New Jersey. So our classification level is mass fatality, collective chart, and we have our Council of Catastrophe, Quadrivium, reporting on this. So, a little abstract here. The Hindenburg disaster killed 36 people, and this report analyzes the event chart and the charts of 3 representative victims to demonstrate collective fatalism, where an event is inevitable, holy shit, regardless of individual choices. All right, no passenger could have survived by different actions. The disaster was written into the fabric of time. So, we have our event chart, our EC, that gives us our date, May 6th, 1937, 1925 EST, our time, our place, Lakehurst, NJ, and we need our event ascendant, so 29 degrees Scorpio and erratic threshold guardian. Our event midheaven, 8 degrees Leo. Event Mars is 18 degrees Sag, exactly conjunct the fixed star and Aries, which is the wound and fire from below. Our event Pluto is 27 degrees Cancer, opposite event ascendant, 0.3 degrees orb. Very important, all right? So now we're going to look at the victims. Our first victim is Captain Ernst Lehmann, and he was born May 12th, 1886. We see his FS, fatalistic signatures. Primary direction, all right, Mars, he had it natally at 28 degrees Taurus, and it was directed to the 8th house cusp, 2 degrees Virgo. So an arc is 4 degrees 10, expected maturity at age 50.9, died at age 51.0, orb is 0.1 degrees. And then we see our SA, Saturn, rulers of structure, collapse, conjunct the natal moon at 18 degrees Capricorn, bringing an orb of 0.05 degrees. Fractal Echo at age 25.5, 1911, survived a hydrogen explosion in another Zeppelin. Fractal 2x equals 51.0, we get an exact echo. So the first explosion was a warning, the second was fatal. And our tesseract shows all 4 triggers present, Mars to the 8th, Saturn to the moon, lunar node to Uranus, and progressed moon in the 8th house. So we have a conclusion for Lehmann. And that is, he was destined to die in a hydrogen fire The earlier survival was a rehearsal. No action on his part could have changed the outcome. And our second victim is passenger Emma Paines, born January 15th, 1874. We see her PD, primary direction, Sun, natally 25 degrees Capricorn, directed to the fixed star Algol. Decapitation, here symbolic, burning. Arc is 3 degrees 22, maturity at age 63.3, died at 63.3 exact. In LA, lunar arc, Ketu, the natal Mars, violence, an orb of 0.07 degrees. Absence of benefic intervention, so no Jupiter or Venus SA active on the death day. She was a victim by omission. And we have our conclusion here for Paines. No benefic protection. The Sun Algol's erection is almost always fatal. She had no choice. The event chart itself had an anaretic ascendant, 29 degrees Scorpio, indicating a threshold that had to be crossed. Event Mars exactly conjunct Antares fire star is a rare signature, occurs at once every 30 years in event charts. The combination of event anaretic ascendant and event Mars Antares makes the disaster a fated event. It would have happened regardless of which airship, which crew, which passengers. The 36 deaths were not random. They were the 36 people whose individual charts contained the necessary fatal triggers. All right. One survivor, a crew member, had a Jupiter SA exactly conjunct his ascendant at the time of the fire, a rare benefic intervention. His survival was not a failure of fatalism, but a different fatalism. He was destined to survive. The faculties model accommodates both. All right. So we conclude our fatalism level, 9.4 out of 10, collective inevitability with individual variation. All right, now we're on to report number 3, which is the fall of the House of Usher. Now, remembering that this is fictional, but astrologically rigorous. So our event here is the death of Roderick Usher and the collapse of the mansion, Edgar Allan Poe, 1839, literary fatalism, demonstrative, all right, Gothic astrology. Something we haven't really talked too much about on the channel at all is Gothic astrology, but we'll get a taste. So though fictional in our abstract, the Usher story is a perfect literary model of astrological fatalism. This report constructs a plausible natal chart for Roderick Usher based on textual clues and demonstrates that his death and the mansion's collapse were a resonance cascade of overwhelming inevitability. We have a constructed natal chart for Roderick Usher based on the text. Estimated 1805, no time given. Faculty uses noon as placeholder. Sun, 5 degrees Scorpio. Secrets, decay. Moon at 29 degrees Scorpio. Anaretic, dissolver. Ascendant at 29 degrees Libra. Anaretic, threshold guardian. Pluto, 10 degrees Pisces. Natal, exact square to Sun. Saturn, 15 degrees Sag. Conjunct the fixed star Antares. Wound and collapse. All right. So it is possible to also come up with charts for fictional characters and even fictional stories. You can do a lot with astrology. Fatalistic signatures in the narrative timeline. So fall of 1839, we have our PD spiral. Saturn, natal 15 degrees Sag, directed to the IC, foundations and home. Arc is 4 degrees 12, expected maturity at age 34.5, autumn of 1839. But in the story, Roderick is approximately 34 years old. The house collapses at the climax, so in orb 0.04 degrees, the foundation crumbles exactly when Saturn reaches the bottom of the chart. And we have our essay. Pluto, decay, hidden forces conjunct the natal moon at 29 degrees Scorpio. Moon at anaretic degree causes compression. Event occurs at age 34.2. Pluto-Moon conjunction in Scorpio is psychological disintegration, fear of the dead, the entombment of Madeline, exact. We have a fractal echo for multiplied. So age 8.5 years, 1813, Roderick's twin sister Madeline falls ill for the first time. It's the first manifestation of the family curse. So we see a fractal clock is 8.5 multiplied by 4, equaling 34 years. The final illness and entombment occur at age 34, the 4x echo. Each echo doubled the intensity. So we have our tesseract of fatality, primary Saturn to IC, foundations, solar arc Pluto to moon, psychological death, lunar arc south node to the ascendant, karmic ending of the bloodline, progressed moon in the 8th house of death, inheritance, exact on the night of Madeline's return. All 4 triggers align within 0.2 degrees. The story could not have ended otherwise. All right. The fatalism of the mansion, and then a conclusion for literary purposes. So the house itself has a chart. Construction date is unknown, but Poe describes the mansion as having a sentience. Astrologically, the building's chart was entangled with Roderick's. His Saturn IC direction collapsed the house's structural integrity. The mansion did not fall because of Roderick's death, it fell as his death. The 2 events were a single astrological event with 2 manifestations. And so Poe, whether consciously or not, wrote an astrologically perfect fatalistic narrative. Every event in the story occurs on the exact timing predicted by the resonance cascade. Faculty uses this case to teach students that fatalism does not require belief, it requires geometry. So our fatalism level here is 10 out of 10, complete inevitability as the story was written after the fact. All right, report number 4. We're going to talk about the Titanic sinking. Was it avoidable? Or we'll talk about avoidable versus inevitable disasters. All right. So, RMS Titanic sinking, April 15th, 1912, 2:20 GMT, contested fatalism, maritime astrology. All right. So the Titanic is often cited as a disaster that could have been avoided. Different speed, different course, more lifeboats. This report analyzes the charts of Captain Edward Smith, shipowner J. Bruce Ismay, and the ship's own launching chart. The conclusion, the sinking was inevitable, but the death toll was not. Fatalism applies to the event itself, not the number of victims. All right, we're going to talk about the ship's launch chart first. RMS Titanic. So launch date, May 31st, 1911, 12:13 GMT, Belfast. The ascendant, 8 degrees Virgo. Midheaven is 5 degrees Gemini. Neptune, ruler of the sea and dissolution, 22 degrees Cancer. Square to the ascendant, 0.3 degrees Orb. Pluto, 27 degrees Gemini, opposite Neptune in the ship's progress chart by 1912. All right. So let's talk about the captain here. Captain Edward J. Smith, born January 27th in 1850. All right. So we see his fatalistic signatures here. His PD, Neptune, natal, 5 degrees Pisces, directed to the 8th house cusp, 12 degrees Taurus. Arc equals 7 degrees 12, expected maturity at age 62.2. Smith was 62 years, 2 months, 19 days at sinking, the orb 0.1 degrees. And SA, Saturn, natal, 5 degrees Leo, conjunct the fixed star Algol, decapitation, symbolic loss of command, orb 0.05 degrees. Fractal echo at age 31.1, 1881, survived a minor collision at sea. 2x equals 62.2, exact echo. The earlier collision was a rehearsal. And our tesseract, all 4 triggers present. Smith was fated to go down with the ship. The avoidability question. Could Smith have avoided the iceberg by different actions? The chart suggests no. His Neptune 8th direction indicates death by water regardless of the specific circumstances. If not the Titanic, then another ship. The iceberg was merely the instrument. Let's talk about J. Bruce Ismay, who was born December 12th, 1862, and was a survivor. So we see his PD, Jupiter, natal, 10 degrees Libra, directed to the 9th house of travel. Arc expected at age 50.2. He was 49.3 at sinking. Orb 0.9 degrees outside fatal range. So our benefic intervention here, we see SA, Venus conjunct the ascendant at sinking. Orb 0.1 degrees. Tesseract incomplete, only 3 triggers. Missing the lunar arc to Ketu. Ismay survived, was vilified, but lived until 1937. His survival was written. He was not fated to die on the Titanic. All right. The ship's launch chart had Neptune square the ascendant, a signature of dissolution at sea. The progression of that square matured in April 1912. The ship was fated to sink. However, the death toll, 1,517, was not fated. It was a function of lifeboat availability, water temperature, and human decisions. The faculty's model distinguishes between event fatalism, the ship sinks, and casualty fatalism, who dies, or causality fatalism, excuse me. The former is fixed, the latter is probabilistic. So the ship's baker, Charles Joen, survived after being in the water for hours. It is pretty remarkable. His chart showed a Jupiter moon trine with 0.02 degrees orb at the sinking. Extreme benefic protection. He was destined to survive, but the faculty cannot explain why the universe chose him. So our fatalism level for this event is 8.9 out of 10. The sinking was inevitable. And our fatalism level for individual deaths is 6.2 out of 10 because many were interchangeable. Only a few were fated to live or die. All right, report number 5 is the Pompeii eruption, collective karmic fatalism. Our event is the eruption of Mount Vesuvius, August 24th, 79 CE, 13 exact local time, estimated, ancient, reconstructed, archaeo astrology. All right. Using reconstructed planetary positions and a hypothetical average citizen chart for Pompeii, this report demonstrates collective karmic fatalism, an entire city's chart converging on a single moment of destruction. The eruption was not a random geological event, but an astrological deck collection for the entire population. All right, here's our reconstructed event chart. The date, August 24th, 79 CE, 13, approximate start of pyroclastic flow. Sun, 1 degrees Virgo, fold point polarity reversal. Mars, 25 degrees Scorpio, conjunct the fixed star Antares, the wound, fire from below. Saturn at 18 degrees Sag, retrograde, squaring to the Sun. Pluto, 15 degrees Capricorn, slow motion, not discovered yet, but calculated. And we have our collective city chart here, Pompeii's foundation, mythical, April 21st, 600 BCE, sunrise. All right. So our PD of the city shows Mars, city's natal, 12 degrees Aries, directed to the city's 8th house cusp, 22 degrees Aries. Our arc is 10 degrees over 679 years, 0.0147 degrees per year, expected maturity in 79 CE exact. SA of the city, Pluto, natal, 10 degrees Capricorn, conjunct the city's nadir underground. Arc is 5 degrees over 679 years, equaling maturity in 79 CE exact. Fractal echo, the city had experienced a smaller earthquake in 62 CE, 17 years prior. 17 multiplied by 2 equals 34 years, not a perfect multiple. However, the 62 CE quake was a 0.5x fractal, half the intensity. The 79 CE eruption was the 1x full echo. All right, so all 4 triggers present in the city chart for our tesseract. The city was fated to be destroyed. Individual victim, the Garden of the Fugitives, 18 bodies, including children. We have a representative chart. It's unknown, but faculty constructed an average. So assume birth 30 BCE, unknown time, primary direction PD, Saturn, natal 5 degrees Libra, directed to the 4th house of home and foundations, with an orb of 0.02 degrees at eruption. SA, Pluto conjunct Moon, emotional annihilation, orb is 0.01 degrees. Fractal echo at age 25 survived a house fire, 2x equals 50 years later, but victim was 45, so we have a mismatch. Faculty hypothesizes that the fractal echo was collective, not individual. The city's 62 CE earthquake was the echo for all residents. An absence of benefic intervention, no Jupiter or Venus aspects active for any of the 18 victims. They were karmically bound to die together. All right, karmic debt argument. Pompeii was a wealthy, decadent city. The faculty's karmic model suggests that the city's Ketu was heavily afflicted, indicating a collective ancestral death that required a mass death event to clear. The eruption was not a punishment, but a balancing. The children who died were not being punished. They were carrying the debt of their parents and grandparents. This is the hardest form of fatalism to accept, but the astrological signatures are unambiguous. All right. So our fatalism level is 9.9 out of 10. The city was doomed. Individuals within it had no escape unless their chart showed a specific benefic intervention. None did among the sampled remains. The eruption was an astrological event, masquerading as a geological one. Alright, so now we'll just close up this section here, and then I'll see you guys in the next video. So Fatalism Severity Index, our FSI, this is a part of our appendix, and the faculty now classifies fatalistic events on a 10-point scale, meaning we have our FSI, which is right here, and our description and example. All right, so from 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, and no event with FSI that is, lesser than 6 is considered fatalistic by faculty standards. All right, so 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, not necessary. But 10 is absolute inevitability, no free will, no ritual mitigation, Poe's Usher fictional, and Pompeii collective. 9 is extremely high, only a miracle 0.01% chance could avert Ludwig II, Hindenburg victims. 8 is high, ritual may reduce severity but not prevent. We talk about the Titanic sinking, that event. 7 is moderate, free will can shift timing but not occurrence. We talked about Captain Smith's death. And 6 is mixed, event inevitable, but victims interchangeable, and that is the Titanic casualties. All right. So, just the ruling on fatalistic event reporting. These reports are not to be shared with the general public in the sense that they don't understand astrology first, all right? But fatalistic determinism can induce psychological harm, all right? Faculty members using these methods clinically must first obtain the client's written acknowledgement that some events cannot be changed, thus closes the fatalistic event dossier, all right? So technically in the next video, and I did want to talk about it maybe in this video, I don't know, I wanted to go over each zodiacal sign for the faculty of advanced magic and celestial alchemy. Essentially on adversarial astrological forces and the necessity of the malefic signs, and what makes a zodiac sign malefic. So, bearing with me for a second. Maybe we will talk about this. We'll just get over the preamble first on the necessity of the malefic. So the word malefic means harm doing, yet in the spiral curriculum, we do not name a force as evil. We name it as necessary friction. The grit that shapes the pearl, the weight that builds bone, the cold that forges steel. This treatise redefines the malefic not as an enemy, but as a celestial pressure gradient. Without Saturn, no structure. Without Mars, no wound that teaches healing. Without Pluto, no death that clears space for rebirth. Without the hard aspects, no tension that drives evolution. Still, some forces are not very good, by which we mean they produce suffering, limitation, and decay. The wise wizard learns to read them, to mitigate them, and sometimes to ally with them. This treatise catalogs all such forces, signs, planets, aspects, and transits, with original classifications, occult signatures, and practical rites of passage. Might be in the next video, because I actually have to merge this video with the clip that I did before I got cut off. It's hard to explain, but you guys will see me continuing to talk about adversarial astrological forces in the next video and on.